No. Okay. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, but I'm excited. I do this. Uh, I'm really excited. I'm tired, so it might not look like it, but I'm very excited. This is Travis in the Uncanny Valley. I've had a long day, but I've been looking forward to getting around to this tonight. So I'm going to talk about how I take things literally. This is part three. I thought this was going to end up being part three, and I was going to go one direction with it. I planned on just uh, saying a few more final things, uh, examples of how I take things literally, um, and then just landing on the fact that the reason I know this is part of who I am is because taking things literally is not a coping mechanism. It is not a result of something else that I've been able to fish out. Like, it's not something I do consciously or subconsciously. Like, it deals with my cognition. So like it tells me I can't dig much deeper on this. Like, I'm just going to have to stop digging and explore at this level. So that's where I plan on landing. It's just that I'm done digging. I don't think it's a result of something else or of a couple other things resulting in me taking things literally. Like I said, this is a cognition issue. Like, this is the way that I understand words. Um, but so that's what I thought I was gonna do. Just go through the list of examples. I might touch on a few of them, uh, but probably not, because I'm more excited about the fact that I figured out why what I take literally and what I don't. Because I thought, well, I know sarcasm, I get sarcasm, but uh, there's uh, a difference between understanding when people use sarcasm and then drawing upon that to use it yourself. So I'm a lot better at drawing upon it and using it at will because I'm the one using it. I'm the one that has to know uh, the multiple ways to use the sarcastic word or to use the words sarcastically together. It's on the other person that has to correctly interpret how I've used it. So that's a completely different thing in my mind. Um, when someone uses something uses a phrase sarcastically, it's ambiguous. So I might not be clear on how they mean it because uh, I don't necessarily follow along with everything as well as I might otherwise. Um, so that's sarcasm. I was trying to figure out like why I don't take some things literally, like why I don't take some things literally. Like, um, I've heard people say like, you know, if someone says you have a chip on your shoulder, like, we just don't know how to take that, or they wear their heart on their sleeve. We don't know how to take that. But like, I get those, and I was like, well, what's the difference? And then maybe this is something I would have learned in English class if I'd paid a little more attention. But I took those classes enough times because they were not of interest to me. So I took them more than once, most of them, and I didn't catch this if we went over it. But so I understand figurative idioms because if you say someone is wearing their heart on their sleeve, the only way I would take that is the figurative way. Like, because I've never seen someone literally wear their heart on their sleeve. Like, it's easy enough to translate. It means you're either wearing your uh, anatomical heart on your physical sleeve, which no one's said, or it means the figurative thing. So it's always meant the figurative thing. So that's not hard to decipher. Like, there's not multiple ways that that's said figuratively either. Like, it's one way, and that's pretty clear cut. So figurative idioms, um, I've never struggled with because of that clarity. Um, the thing that I have, this was the breakthrough I had today. If I'd paid a little more attention, maybe I would have picked up on this. But it's sarcastic idioms. And maybe there's a difference between idioms and figures of speech and phrases and similes and metaphors or whatever. But like, I'm understanding that what I'm going to go over is sarcastic idioms. Um, and hopefully it'll become apparent why I've struggled with them. Because, uh, yeah. So in a conversation, these are things that have been said to me that I took issue with. I mean, this is why I do this, folks. Because I've been praying for a breakthrough like this to where I wouldn't just be pouring out what my struggle is or how well I feel like I'm understanding a struggle, but like this is like dividing it like to where I know something so much more clearly and I can take steps to mitigate my struggle here now that I understand. So, like I said, here's a couple things that people have said. I've had so many misunderstandings and tense conversations and arguments where I sound argumentative because someone said something like this. Um, so imagine you're in a conversation and I think there was a conversation. I'm acting like I don't know. Oh, gee, let me think of a conversation. Okay, I was having a conversation. I remember very clear uh, at at work at lunch about people bartering, and we're a few of us are talking about it, and one guy says, "Oh," he looks at me, he says, "Oh, it happens a lot more than you think," and that is, I'm going to call that a sarcastic idiom because I'm using the word sarcasm loosely here, but it's an idiom. It's not figurative. But the problem I take with it is because it's making a claim, like the person saying it is quite literally, not intentionally, but they are making a claim about having knowledge of what's in my mind. They're saying it's more common than you'd think, and my response at the time was, "No, it's not." It's that I haven't landed on a percentage or a frequency of how often this happens. So I don't know how often I would think it happens. So it can't be more frequent than this unknown variable. So like, no, it doesn't. Like you're making a statement that you can't back up, and it was a bit awkward because I make things awkward because the person said something that is a normal figure of speech that I took issue with because like they are making a claim about knowledge that's in my head or potentially in my head rather. Another one is wouldn't you like to know? And I think that's, I don't know how much you could break these down, but that's, I guess, a rhetorical idiom. Wouldn't you like to know? It's no. And it's the implication uh, that I would like to know or that I've expressed I would like to know, and it just makes me uncomfortable because, and this is the heart of it, because I have been so misunderstood or not understood, either just either a lack of awareness or a misplaced knowledge of what I'm thinking, truly misunderstood so much. Like the majority of what I have said in my life, I feel like has been misunderstood or not understood. So that's why these strike a nerve. It's because of an insecurity that I was chalking up to just, I take things literally. Whereas now that I understand what the things have in common that I take issue with, um, because I never think the person's actually saying this like they mean it genuinely. It's that it bugs me that they are saying these things. Like if someone says, I wouldn't do that if I were you, it's like if I'm doing something that I would do if I'm me, which I'm me. So I'm doing something of my own volition, and someone volunteers that they wouldn't do it if they were me, which they never will be. It's just like, stay in your lane. Like like, I didn't ask. Like, if I wanted to ask, I would have. I don't have normative boundaries. Like, I surely would have asked, and probably in a very awkward way, that made us um, regret the conversation or something. But yeah, so there's all kinds of things that fall in this category, and those are just three examples because I didn't want to try and really go I didn't have to think of a lot more because that is totally what my problem has been. It's because it introduces a hypothetical alternate narrative, alternate to what could be known by the person speaking. And so, oh yeah, so this strikes a nerve with me when people claim to have what is generally a false knowledge, like it's the wrong-headed knowledge. So they're not only claiming this for themselves, but then they're vocalizing that they know it out loud. They're telling me that something that is not literally true about me. And then when I naturally, because I don't know how to respond to a false statement like this, like I know it's an idiom, I know it's a figure of speech that they don't mean sincerely, but they're still saying something. To me, I guess my brain takes it like, if someone says like it's more common than you'd think, that statement on my behalf about referencing how common I think something would be, it's it's like saying, you know, pick a number between 1 and 10, and it's like, do you got a number? Yeah. It's like, well, it's higher than that. Like, you have no idea. You cannot have any idea. And it's unnerving to me, and I don't know a healthy way to respond. But at least now that I've narrowed down the category, the subcategory of figures of speech that I take literally and respond, no, sorry, react to in unhealthy, um, unproductive ways, I can stop. But additionally, the problem was that the person would say this sarcastic idiom, or I guess you could call it a rhetorical idiom, or a lie. If you're me on a bad day, that is a lie. um, but I would take issue with it, and I would vocalize that, the person has no basis for making a claim on my behalf. Thank you very much. And to which they would uh, say, you're sometimes, like, this happens a lot, not necessarily just in these situations, but a lot of times I've been told, you're taking things too literally, or someone else might chime in, you don't take it so literally, or you're taking it too literally. And it's just like, again, I'm taking what someone literally said in the literal way that they said it. Like, they're taking it not literally enough. Like, so it was further exasperating. And this is a good instance of where I guess double empathy would come into play here, where I'm going to call it double gaslighting, because, like, to my understanding, is gaslighting is when you're telling someone their experience uh, is not really what's happening. And, like, this is a good example. Like, this has happened to me, um, not dozens and dozens of times. This is a hundreds of times in my life. Hundreds of times in my life, I have had awkward conversations with people where they are saying a sarcastic idiom, and I take issue with it because I don't know what to do. But I know that I don't want to just leave that hanging in the air, like, left unchecked, uh, when someone makes what is, you know, essentially a false statement on my behalf. Um, so I tell them something, I give them an unhealthy response, and they tell me, they essentially, from my experience, gaslight me and saying, no, your experience is not what was happening. And I'd say the same thing back. Well, you're, mentally now I know in parentheses, like you were saying a sarcastic idiom, but I'm saying like you spoke on my behalf. And that's not what they were intending to do. By no neurotypical thinking would someone, uh, has someone like probably ever agreed with that sentiment. So like we're essentially invalidating each other's experience, and neither of us is technically, I'm going to say neither of us is wrong. We're just talking past each other. And now that I know this, like I'm going to really be able to just uh, realize that this is just a figure of speech where, quite honestly, yet again, I mean, it might tie into the hypothetical ability to mind read. People are so used to speaking on others' behalfs that this is just maybe just an outflowing of that in in a way that's typically accepted in social settings. And it's maybe it's always going to be unsettling to me, but at least now that I have figured out what it is, I can just stop and just hear it and recognize that I had no problem. I've never had a problem recognizing that they're saying a figure of speech, and now I can just kind of just let it sit there and just think about it. Now I can spend the next, if I live that long, the next 43 years thinking about this, and just at some point, it took me this long to figure this out. But at some point, Lord willing, I'll figure out healthy ways to respond. But I know I can be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because that's something that brother James told me to do, and I'm making headway on that. But yeah, so have a great night.